Greetings, wrestling fans, and welcome to Squared Circle Society Live. I'm Flesh Wound Dan, joined by producer Todd.
What's up?
And, believe it or not dead, Mike Kruger.
What's up, you sick motherfuckers? I was knocking on death's door last night, but I came back like we usually do, so.
Yes. No 10-bell salutes tonight. That's a good job. So how are you feeling, Kruger? Busy.
I mean, I don't want to show too much, but I'm pretty fucked up. But today is like the day that I'm finally kind of out of the fog, I guess, per se.
Mm-hmm.
Last couple of days have been really foggy. I lost so much fucking blood in this match that, like, I just think between blood and binge drinking fucking for like 3 days straight, I don't think any of that was very healthy. But like I said, I felt like I was knocking on death's door last night, but I feel better now, and like I'm pretty sure I'm about to bounce back. So we're good. Just took a couple of days. I was a little concerned last night, but I'm definitely feeling a lot better now. And I just would like to put over that I was at IWA Deep South Southern Outlaws this last weekend in a undisclosed location in the South, but you can watch this event on streamxpw.com. I think it's $17.99. And I had my bloodiest match I've ever had. People talk about the Muda scale. There's the Kruger scale in this fucking match.
Your blood pile looked like Jello. Like, it looked like Jello. It was so thick.
Yeah, I was bleeding Jello. So anybody that just enjoys hardcore wrestling, and again, fans of us, people that want to support us, I'd really appreciate it if you guys came and bought this event. I think I put on one of my best matches of all, and I really came up and showed it and showed out. So I'd really appreciate if more people paid for the show, saw this match. Bryant Woods is a fucking monster. This guy fucking powerbombed me twice. I am a 340-pound man. Was pretty scary to fucking see somebody that strong be able to do that. But I also gave it back to him. He took about 16 fucking unprotected headbutts and a bunch of shit. And it was a really good war. I think this match is going to live on as one of my best matches of all time. I think this is right up there with me and Schlack, which is the one that everybody knows me for. So please, streamxpw.com. It's like about a $20 pay-per-view, but I think the amount of carnage, the amount of gore that you see for $20 is well worth the fucking price.
$17.99, yes.
Yeah. So, and just in general, kind of run down everything leading up into the show. So fucking Wednesday night, my roof started leaking, and fucking I had a ton of fucking shit in my house get wet. All my collectibles, all my fucking Blu-rays, all my bullshit. So leading up to this show, I was so fucking stressed out. It was beyond belief. This was the first time I've ever been on pay-per-view. This was the first main event I've ever had that was a deathmatch main event outside of a show I just did in Texas. But this was my first main event pay-per-view match, and fucking a day before I leave, my roof fucking basically has a natural disaster happen in it. And all my collectibles, all my Blu-rays, all my bullshit got fucking wet. So coming in, I was very, very stressed out. Maybe I partied a little too hard the night before because I was so fucking stressed. But coming into the show, for one, it's just in the middle of the woods. Todd, we have some video that I'd like to fucking pull up to show you like how undisclosed this location is.
Yeah.
I mean, we're driving about 2 miles into the actual backwoods and putting on a fucking pay-per-view show with not a lot of people in the crowd. That was one of the things that was interesting, is like this was much more of like a private event that was being live streamed than it was an actual wrestling show, which was different. And you don't have that luxury of being able to play off the crowd as much, but nonetheless, I watched the whole show from start to finish. I think it's one of the best Deep South shows that they've ever had, especially when it comes to match quality.
Yeah.
Anyways, like to pull up this video, show you guys backwards, and also I met.
Sorry, got a little too trigger happy.
Oh, yeah, you're good. And also show you guys some of the friends I met in the Deep South. And also, after the show, after the main show tonight, we're going to be doing a post show where I can show you some more of the gory and bloody fucking pictures, as well as maybe show a couple of short clips of the match. But please, I cannot put it over enough. If you want to help support me, you want to help support Flesh Wound Features, because we do work very closely with XPW. Please come and buy this pay-per-view. I don't ask for much, but this is like one of the most important matches of my career. I really, really appreciate it if the pay-per-view sales were nice and big. So thank you guys, and let's show you guys the backwards.
Also, just FYI, after our second show, Flesh Wound Horror, which is going to be
we'll be the
show. He said the main show. He knows what the bread and butter is. Did we want to show any of the photos? We can now.
Yeah. So let's show some of the photos, and then just show like the crazy location. So there's me and Andy Lawler. Anybody that follows Deathmatch Elite knows that this guy fucking goes all over the place, and he was finally able just to go to a show about 20 minutes away from him and not have to fly halfway across the country to fucking see some deathmatch shit. So he's very appreciative of that, and I told him, I was like, if I'm back, please come back, because I want you here, and I'm glad that I was able to bring some good deathmatch wrestling to you. So there's him.
I like a hillbilly photobombing in the back.
All right. He hasn't seen a camera before, Todd. It's weird, that weird technique.
You may have been checking this out.
There's me in the body, who we finally met, and I may be going out to Canada and doing some no-ring deathmatch shows for him out there pretty soon. So we'll see. I'm trying to get him to book Masada out there. So
it looks like you're getting ready to finish Big F and Joe's story in that shot with you.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe if that match does end up happening, I do finish the story. And then there's a black and white photo of how disgustingly gory I got in the match. We can't show it on the channel, to my dismay. But again, after the main show tonight, our horror movie podcast, we will be doing a post show on Patreon, and it's patreon.com/fleshwoundfeature. Starts at just $1, and you'll be able to see all the guts and gore that were spread in a undisclosed location in the South this weekend. But let's show the location, because it straight up looks like something out of a fucking horror movie.
All right, here we go. You don't say any words that it shouldn't be said there.
I don't think so.
What is this?
What the fuck?
Yeah,
stop playing.
I am tripping.
Oh, we're going into the boonies. If y'all hear banjos, make sure the doors are locked.
Yeah, my asshole is clenched.
Deliverance type shit.
Yeah.
All right, we're coming out.
So fucking literally in the sticks. This show was. But it was a really cool experience. I'm glad I got to go down there. I got to meet some people I haven't met before, like Hardcore Hillbilly, The Body, and Tommy Trainwreck. Really, really cool guy. And also shout out to the ref in my match, Sadisto. I don't know how Spanish you get with it, brother. But the ref in my match, you can't really see in the video, but he took a straight tube and it fucked his leg up and fucking like cut an artery. He was bleeding all over the place. He had to go in the back, got taped up, but son of a bitch, this tough bastard went back out there for the fucking finish. So shout out to Sadisto for that, or Sadisto. Well, I'm not really sure.
He's in the chat, so give him a pat on the back in the chat.
Yeah, dude, that's a tough motherfucker, and like big props to him to be able to come back out and finish the fucking match. Hopefully the next time you rep one of my matches, you don't get hit by a straight tube and almost fucking die on me. But I really appreciate you coming back out there, making sure that that we got to finish our gimmick. So I hope, I don't know like what the final cut of the of the match will look like, but I'm hoping there's a better shot of what happened to him because I really don't even know. I didn't know until after the fact. I just know, like, I heard him say, "Oh fuck," and then like he got carried to the back, and then he eventually came back out, and he was just like, "I'm finishing this motherfucker." So big props to that guy. My ass gash, Cliff Booth, is okay. It's finally closed. Yeah, I got a new asshole over the weekend. Maybe we could show it on Patreon. Maybe not. We'll find out.
I'm trying to think of a workaround. I think we're you guys may be clicking a different link. I may not pull you in the group, but you may, yeah. So we may do it so we're 100% safe.
There you go. But yeah, my match with Bryant, I think, like I said, I think it lives up to the legacy of brutality that I've put out there. Me and Schlack was one of the bloodiest matches people ever saw in IWA Mid-South, and I think I put on one of the bloodiest matches that anybody's ever seen in IWA Deep South, and I didn't end up dying. So that's one of the fucking, like, big props is, like, I came out of it pretty okay. I didn't have to go to the hospital or anything like that, and at the end of the day, that's all you could really ask for doing what we do. And also, I'm pretty proud of the match. I watched it back like 3 times now, and I think it's really good, and I think it's something that I'm going to be remembered for. So, Jason Mellon said we got video and slow motion. Oh shit, okay. So yeah, hopefully we'll be seeing more clips and stuff like that surfacing from the weekend. But just big shout out to IWA Deep South for bringing me out, and I hope to be back there for Carnage Cup. And I hope just to be having more wars with guys out there that have been fucking doing it for a while. And I definitely want a rematch with Bryant Woods at some point. So
yeah, absolutely. He cheated.
Well,
he loaded up that weed whacker with holy water. I have it on good authority.
Yeah, he definitely did. I think that's why I couldn't have kicked out after the second power bomb because I kicked out of the first one. I fucking won, motherfucker. So there was definitely
it was the power of Christ that kept you down. It wasn't the weed whacker. It wasn't the razor board. It was power of Christ. It took us a while to get that.
And not to mention, I failed to bring up that we had AR-15s pulled on us like literally about 20 minutes before the match happened. The cops showed up. Somebody had said that somebody was being stabbed to death and that they heard gunshots because of the fireworks that went off. And the cops showed up and had ARs drawn on all the boys. All of the fucking boys.
Did you imagine they would have showed up while the firecrackers are going off?
Yeah.
Larry is getting smoked. Yeah. Larry is getting smoked.
Yeah, so I'm glad that that situation didn't end up being a lot worse because, like, imagining fucking me in the ring fucking stabbing Bryant with something like push pins inside me, I probably would have got fucking shot. But I digress. It is death matches. It's deathmatch wrestling, so unpredictable shit happens. And this was definitely it's definitely a weekend for my book whenever I do write it. There'll be a chapter about this motherfucker in there. But other than that, guys, again, streamxpw.com, IWA Deep South, Southern Outlaws. The show is $17.99. Please, please, please go purchase it. Support me, support my wrestling career, support the boys that fucking help out XPW, like me and Todd and Dan with the promotion and shit. Like we all really, really would appreciate if you guys paid that $17.99 and watched one of the bloodiest brawls that you are gonna see in the indie wrestling scene. And that's not even me just putting myself over. It's true. And if you were there and saw how much blood was left in the ring, you would know. But yeah, guys, I actually, because of everything, I haven't had any chance to watch any movies this week or any Dark Side of the Ring or anything like that. So I'm going to leave you guys to it, but please make sure www.com, www. Jesus Christ. Sorry.
www.streamxpw.com.
Yes. WWE.com frowns on second assholes on backs. They don't like that.
Exactly.
Vince might, but he's gone now.
And to maybe see the second asshole and some of the gore and the guts and a few exclusive things, please, patreon.com/fleshwoundfeatures starts at just $1, and there will be a post show tonight after our normal scheduled Wednesday programming with our horror movie podcast. So
keep an eye out. The link's not up yet. It'll come out right before showtime.
Absolutely. Other than that, guys, thank you. I'm gonna go fucking rest until I have to do this Patreon show. So,
all right. Are we bringing you back for Chucky?
Negative.
Okay. We'll touch base then. All right. Cool.
All right, man. Take care.
All
right. That is Mike Kruger just checking in. Thanks for all the messages and everything, because he bled buckets this past weekend.
He definitely.
So, speaking of assholes, we are at the season, maybe series finale of Dark Side of the Ring, Black Saturday, The Rise of Vince. And all right, so I figured this one was gonna close when I heard all of them, because I just kind of figured, I was like, there's a lot of story there, and depending how deep you want to dive into it, it's one of the great historical moments in the history of pro wrestling. So I was pretty eager. Before we get into it, Todd, did you learn something new in this episode? Bearing in mind we're both wrestling aficionados.
There might have been little details, but nothing like huge that I didn't really know from the story already. Okay. Was there anything that jumped out to you?
Nothing really. I did enjoy like hearing more like what was in so-and-so's head during this. It was always striking to me that over the years there have been many people that said they were done with Vince McMahon. They were never coming back, and almost every single one did that they invited back at the very least. Ole Anderson was one of those ones. Like, he wasn't going to go into the Hall of Fame. He wasn't going to do a guest spot on Raw or whatever. He never did. So some of that was interesting hearing from his kid. And
he's the only one too that I can think of.
There's, I mean, like I said, I mean, you could say Nails, but it's not like they invited him back.
Right.
You know, I guess, well, Randy Savage, but he died. And apparently that was, you know, they might've been close.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. But like, yeah, like the fact he was doing anything with the WWE, kind of, there was a relationship because of the toys. So, but I get what you're saying, but I mean, like, that they wanted and, you know, haven't got, I guess, is the best way to say it.
Yeah, and this was also an intriguing episode when you factor Ole died in between finishing it up, and because, you know, they're talking about him like he's alive in the episode, and his son, you know, obviously, I can't remember. I think he said he had MS and a lot of different health stuff there towards the end. And of course, Vince McMahon. I was really curious this season if they would tie in any of the Janelle Grant NDA stuff, take a little shot here or there. And they really haven't yet. And I thought it was interesting how this all parallels. Vince gets forced out. Granted, different circumstances. You know, it's kind of hard to call somebody a loser when they get like $4 billion, but you know.
Well, I mean, he was bought out and forced out of his own company. It's the exact same thing, just on a larger scale.
Yes. And now, of course, it looked like he was gone, and we know he came back. That infamous, you know, together forever, and then walking.
Well, see, that's the thing, though. Even the way they lined it up on the episode, though, the timeline was off, because the Janelle Grant stuff broke after he came back, not before he came back. And so the way they timed it out, it was the Janelle stuff happened, he came back, and then they sold WWE. That's not what happened.
No, that
was a really weird, and I was like, why would they fuck up the timeline that bad so soon?
Yeah, because you're right. Like, he was kind of not forced to push to the shadows, I guess we will say, just a little bit. And there was a lot of maneuvering to that. I think when the episode ended, and I know we're jumping around, but I think the irony of it really was striking to me.
Yes.
Like how things, I mean, it took, over 40 years, but things went full circle and now he's gone forever. You or I have as much stake in WWE now as Vince McMahon, and that is wild.
Some
We
of us
talked
may
about
own
it
more
before.
stock than him.
Some of us might. Some of us might. You might see this hat on Raw, Tad.
You don't own
never
that much
know.
stock, Dan.
I don't own that much stock, but we'll see. I'm building Tad, just like Gerald
okay.
Briscoe. I'm slowly buying in. Slowly buying. He might let me bring back 205 Live or 305.
I'm actually
Live.
surprised Briscoe's still breathing. He seems like what both of them they're yeah. Some old school shit was about to go down with them.
Yes,
but you
now,
should, for people that don't know, you should kind of just give a quick, what Black.
Oh, absolutely. So Black Saturday, the rise of Vince. Now, the Black Saturday is referring to an infamous incident, really one of the most historical moments in the history of pro wrestling, bar none, where WTBS Georgia Championship Wrestling, on July 14th, 1984, Vince McMahon appears on TV. So all the old school Southern wrestling fans are tuning in thinking they're going to watch Georgia Championship Wrestling, and they get Vince McMahon appearing there. Now, this is, Vince takes over, buys the company from his dad in 1983. And this is extra confusing because you got to remember the timeline here. To these people, Vince is the announcer. Like, what the hell's going on here? But he pops up, and so then we kind of rewind. And at this point, he buys the company 83 from his dad. And for those unfamiliar, because some of you listening may not be, you had regional territories back in the day. I'm just going to go over the brief history of that, obviously.
I know.
But you had different regions across the country with a governing body called the NWA, National Wrestling Alliance, which still exists. It's had its own unique history that we could do 10 episodes on. And they kind of governed, they were the governing body for these territories. And Jim Cornette kind of compares it to wrestling to the mafia at this time, which I think is pretty accurate. I think he said just black guys minus ending up at the bottom of a river, but
most of the time,
unless you're Marty Jannetty. But so there's a yearly NWA meeting of the territories. Most of the promoters saw Vince at this point as just an upstart kid. I don't think they have any idea what's coming or how quick it's going to come, which is interesting. I always found this period of, again, really just a couple years fascinating because I think he pretty much caught everybody off guard. Now, in fairness, there's a lot of guys that are still around that accuse Vince of destroying wrestling and, killing what it was. He definitely killed what it was, but he wasn't the first one to flirt with going national. I know Fritz von Erich was flirting with that. He wasn't the first. He's the one that got it done. But at this time, Georgia Championship Wrestling has been thriving under promoter Jim Barnett. He was unique because he wasn't a wrestler. Like most of these promoters were ex-wrestlers for the most part. I know there's some exceptions. And he wasn't allowed even in the National Wrestling Alliance till 1970 because he was gay. And but he had media contacts. He's a very important figure to the history of wrestling, and I think a lot of casuals don't know the name Jim Barnett, but very, very, very important because he wasn't your typical wrestling guy. He knew Ted Turner. He had all these media contacts, and again, Georgia Championship Wrestling at this point is huge. So we hear a little bit from different employees. Tommy Rich is on here, former NWA champion Tommy Rich. You got Ole Anderson as the booker / matchmaker for the company, and who his son kind of tells his story. And there's some old RF video shoot stuff with Ole as well. And he said Ole was a tough motherfucker of his era. Like he was the guy you saw on TV, more or less, is sort of what his son puts over. Like that, maybe not the nicest guy in the world, very gruff, very, no bullshit kind of dude. And so Ole Anderson is a part of a group of people who were bought into Georgia Championship Wrestling. They were the shareholders, and that included Ole Anderson, the Briscoe brothers, also Paul Jones, Fred Ward, Ralph Freed, and James Oates, I believe. They were and Ole himself. Those were like the shareholders that all had pieces of the company. And at this point, what was going on behind the scenes, Ole started to see some discrepancies with expenditures. Jim Barnett liked to live large, go on exotic vacations, personal chef, all of this different stuff. And this leads to a power struggle because Ole Anderson at this point rallies the troops and tries to get the stockholders on his side and attempts a coup. And this is where it gets really interesting because, again, I think a lot of people that are vaguely aware of this just assumed Vince bought everything up. There's a lot more to it. So they attempt this coup, and in pure this is just like old school wrestling. Ole Anderson goes to Jim Barnett's penthouse, and this is a story that has been out there, basically threatens to throw him off of his apartment building if he doesn't basically just step aside. And so this effectively leads to Ole becoming new top dog. Ole's kind of reorganizing the company in 1983. And again, this is parallel to Vince in 83 getting control of the WWF and kind of quietly making plans for his new regime. Obviously, Barnett, not a wrestling guy. I'm sure Ole Anderson's scary as shit when he's, standing, threatening to throw you off of a balcony. Barnett's an older guy too at this point, so it's not like he's going to be able to stop it. So this is just so, like, you could do a TV series like that kind of leads up to this, because it's like Game of Thrones in the squared circle. It's just so interesting to me. Vince McMahon at this point shocks the shit out of the wrestling world in 83 when he hires Jim Barnett, who is pushed out, as director of operations for the WWF. They both walk into the annual NWA meeting of the territory and the head promoters, and they resign. So this sends shockwaves. At this point, everybody is just like, well, that means they're just going rogue and just saying fuck tradition. No more territories. We're just going to try and take everything over. Or, they're quitting, which obviously they're not quitting. So at this point, this is basically war. Vince I think Vince Sr. kind of pushes and tries to get Ole to come meet with Vince, but Ole refuses, knowing he's trying to take his territory away. Vince, at this point, drops his balls and dick out and offers stations $2K a week. That could be literal with Vince, but he offers stations $2K a week to take their show and drop Georgia Championship Wrestling. Now, at this point, there's a lot that can't be proven, but there's a lot of crazy shit that I'm going to go right out and say probably did happen, where buildings were dropping. They weren't, taking certain territories. Guys were randomly getting busted for drugs or whatever at airports. A lot of these crazy mafia-like moves that Vince was pulling. And Ole's son said, like, Ole could never prove it, but it's wrestling. I don't doubt it for a second.
We still people trying to fucking get people kicked out of buildings today.
Exactly. It again, wrestling shit. Vince at this point is just really taking it to the other territories. He lands the USA time slot from Southwest Championship Wrestling, who just couldn't afford the slot anymore. I mean, he was just outspending people. And at that point, All American Wrestling debuts in the USA time slot. Vince takes it. Not only that, but buys out talent. He gets from all over the place, which you guys all knew that. I mean, Junkyard Dog from Mid-South, Kerry Von Erich from WCCW. He gets Ricky Steamboat. Of course, Hulk Hogan from AWA, which I don't need to.
The Texas Tornado that one's weird because that was way later. That was way after the expansion. That was like WrestleMania 6. I mean, it's always weird that they lump him in with the rating of the territories. Now, that motherfucker came in his own accord. That was way after the rating.
Yeah, it was. But all of those early guys, I mean, there were so many, and that continued for a while. I mean, you can go way ahead to, I mean, at this point, calling it a territory is a little weird because they had a working relationship. But even Smoky Mountain Wrestling, like, that dies and you get a bunch of people in 96. This process continues for a long time. But yeah, I mean, of course, we know what happens with Hulk Hogan. You're getting to that period now where the writing's on the wall because you corner TV, it's over. And things change really fast under Vince with Jim Barnett in trying to corner all of the television. And that's Vince's goal. That's like that first mission statement is, I want to basically kill it so nobody else has any way to have TV. And at this point, Barnett promises Vince that they could get the Georgia Championship Wrestling time slot. Now, they're hurting at this point. Ole Anderson, because everybody's getting signed, is trying to keep GCW afloat. But he's working with a lot of second, third tier guys, at least as far as name value goes, who really just weren't selling tickets. And at this point, there's yet another coup because the Briscoe brothers, and we do hear from Gerald Briscoe in this episode, they're trying to rally stockholders to vote out Ole Anderson. They just see it. The company's going to die. And this is another one. Pure fucking wrestling lunacy. Ole, he basically meets up. I can't remember if it was in a bar or something. And he has the Briscoes come up to his hotel room or their room or whatever. And he basically tries to kind of work out this deal that if they sell their shares, they will offer it to the other board members first. and he wants this sworn upon in a blood oath. So they cut each other with razor blades. Like, they all just like sitting there in a fucking hotel room bleeding and just take like a blood oath, like a fucking just cutting and shaking hands. Really insane. So kind of going over some of this, the Briscoes shop their shares around. Vince flies up the Briscoes and said, basically, I need you to get me 51% of the company so that I'll be majority shareholder and I can do whatever the hell I want. And Jim Barnett, along with the Briscoes, helped them get other shares. Vince ends up with 67% of the shares at this point. Ole's trying to fight this legally, but because he assumed from his lawyers that he would have some protection. That wasn't the case. And the Briscoes aligning with Barnett behind his back, and kind of shitty because Ole is burying his mom during this, and he gets a call from the secretary, who also really cool is interviewed in this episode. And shout out Jess Graham and anybody I missed. He gets a call from the secretary that Vince is in the office and he owns the company now.
It's crazy how much it stays the same. Because they like to say Vince killed the territory system. He didn't kill the independent scene, and the Carney is alive and well. I mean,
the Carney is alive and well. Yeah,
the only difference
it's actually funny. Yeah,
is that we don't work with each other because no one trusts each other. There's no NWA, so
no,
that's the only difference. Everyone's, which honestly, I think fuck everyone. This is a competition. That's me.
Yeah,
I don't want to be friends.
Well, sometimes you can have some strategic alliances and stuff that works.
Well, that's different.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah. So at this point, there is a brief meeting. Vince offers Ole a job, and just so long. It doesn't really matter at this point. I mean, Vince has got it. And Ole with Vince and Linda face to face, fuck you and fuck your wife, basically. And Vince being Vince, he fires everybody in the office. Don't call us, we'll call you, kind of deal. And July 14th, 1984, instead of Gordon Soley, legend, we don't talk about him enough, they see Freddie Miller introducing Vince McMahon. And the Southern, now this is not a success initially here. That's what, people, I know some casual fans that think Black Saturday is just where Vince won and it was over. Not really. The Southern fans fucking hated the WWF product at that point that they were getting. We're hearing at this point, the Briscoes have been informed that Ole has hired a hitman to try and kill them. Really, and I 100% believe it. And there's just chaos. They hate this slot. The slot is not a success whatsoever. But what happens, Ole does find, because at this point, I think even a guy like Ole Anderson realizes it's over. He does sell his shares to Vince and starts his own promotion. He gets championship wrestling from Georgia from Ted Turner, who never liked Vince and was always gonna eventually get him off that slot. Vince fails in the time slot. He sells the Saturday time slot to Jim Crockett Promotions for $1 million, which doesn't that sound fucking small when we're talking about multi-billion-dollar deals today? And he uses that to finance WrestleMania 1, and the rest is history. This leads to a big monopoly. Not the last time he would be challenged, because you all know the history, WCW, all that good stuff. But for a while there, he gets the monopoly. One thing that I did think was cool, they read a letter from Bill Watts to Ole in 1987 about Vince essentially destroying the industry. I thought that was a cool touch to this episode. And of course, Vince being Vince, 1987, he fires Jim Barnett, who, again, we really have to put Jim Barnett over, because he's such a big historical figure that nobody talks about. Kind of shitty just firing him at that point, but Vince is not a great person. He's gonna do whatever the hell is best for Vince, and
what's best for his company at that time.
Yeah, at that time, yes. So this is where they tie in current events, as we were talking about, and they're running everything down. What did you think about that portion of it? We talked a little bit at the beginning, but really probably one of the last things we're going to hear in regards to Vince McMahon, depending what happens with this trial. But in all honesty,
I don't know. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Global force.
Vince McMahon.
McMahon.
Yeah, but to me, like, if he's going to just start another wrestling promotion, what was the point? Like, just fucking...
Do you think you really think he's done? Done?
In wrestling, it's... Oh, man. Like, I'm trying to look at what he could do, because you would not get a fucking TV deal with Vince attached to anything right now. I mean, Vince could certainly do what Billy Corgan is doing times 100 if he just wanted to fucking run a promotion and keep it alive through his own pocketbook. He could do that. He's rich, a lot richer than Billy Corgan. But I don't know. I think Vince, it's like, I'm going to make huge money. I'm going to be on top. He wouldn't even be able to leapfrog AEW right now. Just again,
I didn't say it was going to be successful. Any more than I thought Global was going to be successful any of the other times. But
short of Vince being able to pay off a lot of money to the point
TNA.
He just shows up. You see Scott D'Amore, motherfucker.
And then he sells the catalog to WWE.
I was an agent all along, pal. I don't know.
Russo couldn't get it done.
I'm sure Jeff Jarrett has probably been talking to him. Would be my guess, but it's like,
how close? See, and the thing is with that, how close are Vince and Jared?
Oh, well, I mean, he was the guy during the steroid trial. He was going to have run the company if he went to jail.
Another guy who's held up Vince McMahon twice and been welcomed back into the company and went into their Hall of Fame.
Yeah, no, that is true. But again, Jeff Jarrett, Jerry Jarrett, smart people. They know they can't.
Okay, Dan, you're worried about successful. I'm not talking about successful.
Vince is not somebody that does something that he doesn't have a plan. Vince is not.
Oh, I'm not saying that. But I don't think there's a plan he can make that's gonna make him the number one thing in wrestling again. Doesn't mean he doesn't think that.
Yeah, but he wouldn't live long enough to build it up. You're talking like something that would take 10, 20 years.
Yeah, but he doesn't think he's ever gonna die. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually think more likely than not, he's going to just offer some insane amount of money to make whatever lingering legal issues he has go away. And I don't know what he does after that. I'm trying to think something that he can do that doesn't require like a TV deal, because there's no.
Why would he sell all of his stock any other way? He could just keep that stock, make money, but he wouldn't be able to start a wrestling company. now that he's free and clear, he can.
Maybe, dude. I'm dying to see what happens.
Yeah.
You might be right. He might be so fucking stubborn.
I don't think there's a way in hell he's not going to try something.
That's interesting. I'll take that bet. I just don't. Something, yes.
Again, not saying anything it is will succeed because I don't think it will. But I don't think he can let it go. Do you think his story's over? You're fucking nuts.
Well, actually, Ben beat me to it. Do you think he maybe just try and use that to dip his toes back into movies?
Well, you know what? He could hit up someone else might get out soon. He could hit up Tony Khan will be happy if those two started working together.
Now, see, I could see him doing something like that. Independent movie company sort of deal. Again, assuming he doesn't get convicted of something, which I'm just assuming he probably isn't. Just my opinion. I
don't know. I think I'm not going to say.
He's got a lot of money, and I don't know.
Problems. Vince can run for presidency, yes, and he could probably win. I can tell you right now, Dan's like, I don't care, I'm voting for him.
Vince, yeah, I don't know.
Really. I mean, look who. Nothing worse than our last president's done, so I'm all in.
That's like 2024. It's just we're gonna get like Vince McMahon, Trump, and then they're gonna like WWE be like, it's too good. We gotta get him in a match at WrestleMania leading to the election.
Well, yeah, but see but you can always have him as the running mate to Trump. I mean, Vince would hate it, but no.
I mean, the PG era is over. Can you imagine just Trump? If Trump's the president at that point, he's just like, it's like, I'm gonna eat this Big Mac and then I'm gonna whoop your candy ass at WrestleMania.
I don't even black Bobby Lashley's back.
I don't even need to train. I'm gonna kick your ass. Vince at this point, since he hasn't been like involved in wrestling, is like steroided up to the point that he looks like Batista. Like if Benjamin Button was on the gas. Thank you, Ben. I can do country and Seagal and Vince, and that's about it. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm really fascinated to see what happens next with him. I really want to see a biopic. I mean, what a fascinating movie that would be. You have to do it. It's going to be a lot more negative now, but you have to do it. Like, I don't know who you cast though. He's another one of those like figures like Ric Flair where it's hard to cast it.
The guy, and I know the guy they did on the Young Rock show was actually solid interpretation of Vince, young Vince at least.
Yeah.
So it is
possible. I know Bradley Cooper was in the running apparently at one point. I cannot do Kermit, Brian. Sorry.
You can only do Miss Piggy, ayo.
What's green and wet and smells like a pig, Ted? Kermit's finger.
I was going to say something else. Josh Brolin. He seems a little older now, but if we're doing the older Vince, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess you'll have to have a few people playing him.
I think it would have to be somebody a little bit older that's just de-aged a little bit. Like, actually, it's not a terrible choice. I wonder if he could bring out the humor, though. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very tough one to cast. And, I mean, we're coming at this as wrestling fans.
If they just have to audition the Beyond the Mat scene. If they nail that, they're in.
Yeah. You know, I did watch Iron Claw with my mom for a second time. She wanted to watch something new, and I was like, you might like this. I know you're not a wrestling fan. She loved it, and I got to say, on a second watch, I do think that movie's pretty strong. It's still not The Wrestler.
Really? I would thought you were going to say... Yeah, it's too all eyes on me for me. It's not. It's just a let's look. The problem is, I think I'm ruined because I loved heels, and that shows like the indie that type of thing better, way better than this. The miscasting of the wrong guys, like the two leads should have been flipped. The fucking shitty wigs that distracted me. The only thing that was good, like I will put over was Lars. Fucking what's his name?
Lars.
Not Lars. Yeah, what's his who played him?
Fritz von Erich.
Yeah, no, yeah, Fritz, not Lars.
Hold.
MJM.
Yeah, I was like,
so yeah, I fucked him up.
yeah, I was
and even
that
whole and I've shit on that too because that whole thing is. I
don't know. I just thought it was a little stronger the second time. It's not like again, it's not the wrestler, but I watched it again with her, and I was like, I get it. The emotional stuff I think hits right. I think Zac Efron, despite being more jacked than Kevin was a pretty good Kevin Von Erich. I think he did a pretty good job, but anyways,
they would have done better as the opposite parts.
So Vince shows up. Who are like his top guys? Like who does he lure away? Like what wrestlers have no morals that'll just be like, I love Vince.
Well, if we're gonna talk no morals, Vince should just put some money into XPW.
Can you imagine the internet? Can you imagine the fucking internet if you do like the Eric Bischoff moment where you just have Vince like hug Rob Black? That would be fucking awesome.
That would be.
You just got all these. You've got all these like pussy like message board people is like, I'm never watching it again ever.
I don't know. I kind of want him to buy Deep South. They can feud. Wasn't Vince originally from the South?
Yeah, North Carolina, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Not New York.
I don't know. No, Ben. The first signing is going to be Joey Ryan in his Jungle Cruise gimmick. That is going to be Cardona probably would.
Why would he though? I mean,
well, dude, no. The first signing's Brock because he'll absolutely do it if he can pay him. He doesn't give a shit.
Oh yeah.
Brock Lesnar is your first signee. God, can you imagine like Schlack and like fucking Brock Lesnar?
Fuck.
We're fantasy booking, but this is pretty funny. I just want to see Vince come back with titties, like just like from Fight Club. Vince is bitch tits. And he just like shows up and wins like the women's title. There's your feud. You get Vince going after like fucking Ludar.
Dream. All the canceled is Dan, are we good to wrap in 15? And we can.
Yes.
Okay, then let's do that. Okay, I was just checking before I bumped the time. So
okay, I thought you already did. So
I did, but I was going to bump it more. But I realized we don't need to.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Velveteen Dream. Enzo's not canceled anymore. He actually kind of survived because he had that XPW match. And Enzo's not really canceled.
And Big Joe bumped into him and covered his. He bumped into Big Joe and he was covered in blood. And I can't remember what his jacket was. It was, but he was covered
like
in blood.
That white, like not fur, but like. Sorry.
So I heard his face was priceless.
Honestly, I think Enzo would be back in WWE, but I hear Triple H doesn't like him. He is a cast guy, though. I really actually think those two are worth bringing back as a tag team. I think they were very entertaining.
I agree. He got fucked up that first match on the main roster. I remember that on the rope. He just.
It wasn't the first match, but yeah, he did.
No, the first match on the main roster. You sure it wasn't?
You're talking about the vaudevillain. Simon Gotch throws him into the bottom rope. They've been around a while, but
I thought that was their first time on WWE television.
No.
Then he botched on his first. He did something. I remember he botched. There was something on his debut. I was like, maybe
he's one guy that's a lot bigger than you would think. Like he's not a tiny dude. Like you think that.
Well, I mean, the problem because he's next to a skinny, a tiny big guy. Because Kaz doesn't look like a big guy. He's like Matt Morgan. He doesn't look like a big guy. He is, but like he's proportionately, so it kind of throws off like it looks.
Yeah, I like Cass. I'd like to see him, even if it's just solo. I'd like to see him get another shot.
Maybe they were just stiff. I don't remember. I remember there was something in that first match. So Ben said their first opponents were the Dudleys.
Okay. Yeah, but there you go, guys. The canceled Wrestling Federation. You get Lars Sullivan in there. No, but he's got to go by whatever his adult film name was. I can't remember.
I'm sure you do it. Just go check your hard drive.
I'm trying to think what it was because there were so many memes.
Wasn't it Mitch something?
You're probably right. That sounds familiar, but dude, that was so funny. Anyways, enough fantasy booking. So guys, in about 15 minutes.
We got time, Dan. We don't have to wrap already.
Oh, okay, cool. But we will be doing Flesh Wound Horror live, so please join us. And once again, after that, if you're not sick of us, patreon.com/fleshwoundfeatures, where we will have a post show. And that just starts at $1. We appreciate it. We don't monetize the channel because we're horrible degenerates. So you can support us that way. I think we make it worth it.
We're going to be extra bloody tonight too. So
there you go.
You may be watching us in StreamYard.
An undisclosed location.
Yeah, we might have to pull the gimmick.
So even that might not stay on Patreon. I don't know.
No. I'm working out a way to do it. We're good.
Okay, sweet. What else do we got coming up, Todd? I guess not dated yet, but I'm very excited about this. We're going to tackle some Italian sex comedies finally.
Have you started them?
Tonight.
Okay. Well, then sooner than later, because I'm already started them. So.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, so we will have the school teacher films with Edwig Fenwick. The Edwig Fenwick ones, I should say, because there are some others. But and what else do we got coming your way? Feels like the year's going fast to me.
Oh, I know. It's too much. I got too much to do.
There's a lot of stuff. I think
definitely tax refund time because everyone and their fucking mom's running a wrestling show. I got to go shoot promos next weekend.
Vince McMahon just steals the arena half from all of them. No one's running my territory, pal. So yeah. Well, I don't have that much. I got to use the bathroom. So you know what?
Okay, yeah,
we'll
go
wrap on that.
All right,
we'll wrap on that, guys. Come again hard in just a little over 10 minutes.
All right, we'll see you in just a few. Good evening.
Good evening for now.
All right, good night. Go run to the bathroom, Dan.
I'll wait till I'm off camera, Todd. We're still live, pal.